Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome in to the evening show. It's 9 p.m. here in the Philippines. Bye bye City Leyte to be exact. We're coming to you live from the basement. You're in the toilet with Dan. And remember, you know why we're in the toilet? Because after this live stream is over, you gotta flush it. Just forget the whole thing and flush it down the toilet. Who do we have in the house? I saw Anime Reyes. Lazy Larry Lee is here. How you doing? Welcome in. Let me know if the mic is working. I'm working with a new mic here. We have Rodell, Jean God, John Zill, Jean God. They must be related. 4 million people in the house. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm doing a mic check, mic check. Mic check. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Let me know if it's too loud, not loud enough, because I'm not wearing my headphones today. And so I can't really hear what's going on because I got the speakers integrated into this system right here. Stand by. We have breaking news. Or we're going to break the news, one or the other. Oh, you're going to be in the background. Okay, Larry, I appreciate it. Okay. I've got this soundboard connected to an external mic. It was the only way that I could get this thing to work. So, but prepare yourselves, because if it's too loud, then I want to make a correction. So here it goes. Here's a sound check on the soundboard.
Bring that ass back like a boom, 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 boom.
How was that? I'll give a couple seconds. How was that one? What's the volume like? I know it's crazy. It's I couldn't get this thing to work right running it through the computer. So I decided that I would grab my external speakers and I would run it into the soundboard to see if that would work. Can you hear that soundboard okay? Yes or no? Thumbs up.
Bring that ass back like a boom, 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 boom.
Thumbs down. Too loud, not loud enough. Griselda's in the house. Are you guys able to hear that soundboard? Let me know. Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. Somebody say something. Okay, so probably it's more sensitive to voice than it is music. I was thinking because Windows program, it will block out certain sounds, right? It's going to block out. It's a noise canceling microphone, and also there's settings there's settings here in Windows where you adjust, and it also does its job trying to cut out the background noise. It's sensitive to voice, right? It's voice sensitive, but music and other things not so much. I'm not sure. You let me know here.
Make more time.
Ooh, wow. Enough of that. Okay. So, breaking news, but it's not really breaking news because it was more like clickbait just to get a few people here. But anyway, I do apologize for doing that, but I am going to read the news. I am going to talk about a few things that have caught my attention. Some of you may have heard this stuff before, and I hope if you have, just shut me out. Most of you are going to be in the background, right? Because Pinky Gray and others are on. And so please feel free to just bounce all the way around into different live streams, because a lot of people are they're live at this time of the evening. So the first thing that caught my attention, I've been thinking about this for a long time, about turbulence, because Minnie and I we fly a lot. Not a lot, but more than most people. And so believe me, if I told you that we haven't noticed the increase in turbulence, then I would be lying. Because we actually have talked about this quite a few times, and I think we even done one or two short videos about the turbulence that we've encountered on planes. And then I ran into this article that I want to start off this evening with. It talks about why plane turbulence is becoming more frequent and more severe. It's an article by a guy named Simon King. So Simon says, and it comes from the BBC. The date is 2 days ago. So if you want to find this article, you can go online to the BBC article by Simon King, Why Plane Turbulence is Becoming More Frequent and More Severe. I don't want to hear about this. I really don't, you know. I'm already a little bit afraid of flying. And then when you start talking to me that I gotta go on Mr. Froggy's wild ride, I'm not so happy about that. As a matter of fact, I was telling Minnie that when we travel to Manila from Cebu, it's just better to take the super ferry. We're not in a hurry. We're retired. Just jump on a super ferry, go travel ferry, whatever they call it, and just take that bad boy all the way to Manila. All the way to Manila to hang with the fellas. I don't think that's such a bad idea. Then you're reducing, you know, the opportunity for you to be taken out by actually, turbulence does not bring planes down, but it is a really bumpy ride if you're in the back. And Minnie and I, we always seem to be in the back. I don't know why or how we end up there. Crystal's Adventures is in the house. It's always an exciting adventure with crystals around. All right, so now let's talk about this article from the BBC. Andrew Davies was on his way to New Zealand to work on a Doctor Who exhibition for which he was for which he was the project manager. The first leg of his flight from London to Singapore was fairly smooth. Then suddenly, the plane hit severe turbulence. And I got to tell you, if it's turbulence, it's always been severe when we've hit it. Yeah, there's no in between. Turbulence makes you very, very nervous, or makes us very, very nervous. So it said, this is him in quotations. Being on a roller coaster is the only way I can describe it, he recalls. After being pushed into my seat really hard, we suddenly dropped. My iPad hit me in the head. Coffee went all over me. Ooh, that's got to burn, right? And there was devastation in the cabin with people and debris everywhere. People were crying, and there was just disbelief about what had happened. So this is what flying has become. And so, you know, right now, the airlines, they're battling all kinds of things right now. You know, they're battling the forces of nature, you know, and tourism is down, you know, and a small percentage, maybe a teeny tiny bit, must be attributed to having to fly long distances. So I really appreciate, Mawelma's here. Hi, Mawelma. I really appreciate it if you just want to stay with your feet on the ground and not get up there in the air. Now, a lot of people are also afraid of taking the super ferries. Not me. Not me. It would take a lot to bring the Titanic down. But it has happened. Oh, yeah. Oh, well. So this is the experience that we've had when we've hit severe turbulence, where people start crying. But the thing that makes me the most nervous is when they start doing the Hail Marys. That really makes me nervous, right? Because when they're starting to call people on their cell phone. I really don't like that because it makes me really, really nervous, right? And so I wish people wouldn't do that. I wish they would panic in silence. That's the best way to handle it. Be afraid, be very afraid, but do it quietly. No, we're gonna crash. How many times have I heard that? I had to actually tell a guy one time, you know, that was sitting right next to us, will you please calm down? You're scaring the passengers. I was explaining to him that the pilots are very well trained, and turbulence does not bring down airplanes. But if you're in the back like we were, it goes like this. It fishtails, like woot, 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 woot. And that is not a very comfortable experience at 30,000 feet or so. So Mr. Davies was, he says, one of the lucky ones. We actually saw a passenger, as a matter of fact, two of them actually got injured because they were headed over to the lab. They were headed over to the CR when we hit the turbulence. We probably dropped about 100 feet, just like, and these two people, they hit the ceiling, they hit the bulkhead, and they got hurt. One woman, she had blood just dripping down her face. They sat her down and strapped her in and grabbed some ice, and they started treating her right away. So this crew on this particular flight was very, very well trained on handling such situations. But as I pointed out, it's going to be more frequently. These events are probably going to happen more frequently. And so you got to stay strapped in your seat for the entire flight if you can. Unless, of course, you have to use the restroom, and timing is everything. So Mike says, good evening, Dan the man in the Philippines. Hello, Sir Mike. Married to a beautiful woman. Absolutely. So other passengers, according to this article, were left with gashes and broken bones. Jeff Kitchen, who was 73, died of a heart attack. Now, I haven't heard of anyone dying. CBGB says it happened to me once on Spirit Air, had to change my underwear. I know, but can you imagine having to yell at a man that's half your age in the aisle over and say, you need to shut the F up because you're scaring everybody. You need to just take it. You need to take it like a man. Die like a man. Ooh, we're going to die. We're going to crash. Don't do that. Don't say that. There are children on this plane that need to be protected from hearing that. Death as a consequence of turbulence. Oh, it says here, what I just said is actually extremely rare. There are no official figures, but there are estimated to have been roughly 4 deaths since 1981. I think the most recent one, if I'm not mistaken, I read about this one. This flight was from Singapore. Yeah, so he was the victim. It had been a long time since anybody has passed away from air turbulence. In the U.S. alone, there have been 207 severe injuries where an individual has been admitted to the hospital for more than 48 hours since 2009. Most of the injuries were minor. I don't know how they handled these 2 ladies that got wiped out by hitting the bulkhead on the plane that we were on, but they were well attended to, and I knew that they were going to be provided the opportunity for being spirited away, if you will, CBGB, to the hospital for a medical checkup. But she had a swollen face. She was visibly, I think she broke her nose, I'll be quite honest. Of course, the airlines, they never talk about this sort of thing, right? They want to keep it on the DL. But let's see what's causing it. That's what I was curious about. In the article it says, but as climate change shifts atmospheric conditions, experts warn that air travel could become bumpier. Temperature changes and shifting wind patterns in the upper atmosphere are expected to increase the frequency and the intensity of severe turbulence. So it says we can expect a doubling or tripling in the amount of severe turbulence around the world in the next few decades, says Professor Paul Williams, an atmospheric scientist at the University of Reading. For every 10 minutes of severe turbulence experienced now, that could increase to 20 or 30 minutes. So if turbulence does get more intense, it could become more dangerous too. Or are there clever ways the airlines can better turbulence-proof their planes? And I think that there are. I mean, I don't know specifically what that would be, right? But I would say that I've seen some designs that look phenomenal for aircrafts of the future. The ones where the fuselage separates and the parachutes come out. And if you experience it's automatic. So I don't believe that the pilot has control over this. I think the pilot himself would be in trouble because it actually separates from the pilot cabin and you flow down to earth via parachutes. I kind of like that idea. I don't know if you've seen that on TikTok or YouTube, but it looks pretty cool. Hello, the world famous, the world most famous, amazing, no, something. Hello, the world most amazing mom in the Philippines who is raising 12 awesome children. Crystal and Mark work tirelessly together to feed and clothe them and also take care of Hop, the magic dragon. No, that's Hop, the one-legged chicken. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I remember that was quite a few years ago, CBGB, when Hawaiian Airlines lost, yeah, the roof just flew right off, and a tenant was lost. I saw that on 1,000 Ways. Oh, man. Oh, that's not so good. That is not so good. So anyway, enough of that, enough of that drama. We fly a lot, but I'm going to minimize the number of flights. I've even been telling, well, I don't know, it depends, but I I guess I'm thinking this whole thing through right now. I don't know where I'm at, except that I know that when Puff the Magic Dragon. Yeah, I know the whole story. Yeah, so I think that if you have the option to take that super ferry, if you're going from that long distance, it's 22 hours on the water. It was a piece of cake. I really enjoyed it. We went Manila to Cebu, and I was telling Minnie, we got to do this again. I like it. I like this trip a lot better than I like flying, even though it took us 22 hours. What's the big deal? It's pretty exciting, actually. And so we enjoyed that. We enjoyed that super ferry a lot. So do you remember that? Did I do a video on that about the super ferry? We're going to do it again. We'll do it back and forth back and forth when we're going up there to Manila. Like I said, I don't mind spending the time on that slow ferry, on the super ferry. What are the chances that it's going to be, hit by an iceberg? It's a very small, minute percentage, right? Right, Crystals? Yeah. Spirit Airlines planes are lucky to take off from the ground. Listen, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started. I don't want to be banned from YouTube for life. That is the reality, though, of future air travel, and they're going to have to come with some kind of workaround for that, I think. So let's see. We're talking about Philippine news. I think by the time that I come on, and it's no longer breaking news, right? So all I've done is, let's see. We're starting off great here. All I've done is gone into Chat GPT, of course. I've asked it, please give me the breaking news for the Philippines. See how lazy I am? And then they ask me questions like, would you like it in script form? No, thanks. Just give me the top 5 or 10 stories. It's really lazy Dan, right? Not lazy Larry. So I'm sure you saw this story, but I'll tell you about it anyway. The arcade, an arcade at the Tops landmark. So we were at Tops in Cebu. Mike was talking about Tops also. And up there, they claimed a Guinness. Oh, I know that machine because I saw the machine up there. And they have claimed the Guinness World Record for the largest claw machine in the world. So another, the largest, but was it the scammiest? That's the thing that I want. Did it take 6 tries in order for you to win a prize? That's what I'm more interested in. The largest claw machine measured 17 feet long, 13 feet tall, and over 8 feet. And I saw it, and I was thinking to myself, what's that thing doing there? So it actually was on display when Minnie and I were there at Top. Top of the world in the Philippines. You're on top of the world. It's a total of 1,761 cubic feet, officially verified on July 21st, 2025. This quirky feat blends. I'm not sure I like this line. blends Filipino carnival culture and modern entertainment. Carnival culture and is a fun boost for tourism. Really? I'm not so sure that it's going to boost anything except the money out of your wallet. Wait for it. Wait for it. I kill myself. Where does Dan get this stuff? All right, and of course they talk about this, the tsunami alert, which Tim Dizak told us was canceled, and so we ended up getting, a trickle. We ended up getting a trickle that hit the shores of the Philippines, but it looks like Crescent City, California, ended up taking the hit with a 4-foot wave, a 4-foot tsunami. Think about that. The thing about that, Crystals, is that years ago when they had the 9-point whatever it is from Japan, right, that wiped out the power plant and all that stuff. Well, that's the reason why you're eating irradiated fish right now. That's why you glow in the dark when you turn off the lights. In case you were wondering about that, it's because you're eating the fish from Fukushima. No, there's no harm. No, none whatsoever. No. Let's see, Mike says in the Philippines they have human claw game that was at SM Seaside in Cebu. How did they get that thing, do you suppose, all the way up the hill, Mike? Do you think they had to take the whole thing apart? And then where did they get the prizes from? There were the gigantic prizes, so the claw could pick it up and move it over to the, so that you could have a chance of winning. But anyway, so the Crescent City. So after that earthquake occurred, there was a tsunami, obviously, and it hit Crescent City. And we had this rocket scientist kid go out there, a young man, not a kid, who's a young man, and he goes out there. Oh, I don't think we're going to get hit with anything. And Crescent City suffered. Apparently it was a huge tsunami that hit Crescent City, and yes, the claw. And oop. Give me another 100 pesos, honey. I'll try it again. So anyway, he got wiped away. He never was seen again. He got pulled out to sea when the water hit, and nobody's ever seen him since. No recovery, no nothing. No one knows where he's at. So they're trying to figure out. It's really a big deal because the earth rang like a bell for quite a while. There's a lot of stuff going on, as I mentioned, about earth changes and planetary changes and changes in space and all this other stuff. If you want the truth, then go to YouTube or go to TikTok and start watching those videos. Some of that information might keep you up late into the evening hours. All right, let's set that one aside. Let me see if I can find the real news. Let me see, the real news. Where is it? Where's my script? Let's see, latest breaking news. Latest breaking news is loading. Oh. It says, sorry, Dan, you took too long. We deleted the link. The story of my life. Well, it's okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Chat GPT and I'm going to give it to you as it's being reported. By the way, are any of you, yeah, he must have been, exactly, Mike, you're funny. He must have been an MIT scientist. The claw drops more junk than my 99-year-old grandma. Oh. Is your grandma listening, CBGB? Is she in the house? All right. Breaking news for the Philippines. Are you guys using Chat GPT as a search engine? Chime in if you are if you're playing around with this the way that I am. I'm reading articles that say that a lot of people are retiring Google and they're going straight to Chat GPT for the answers because it's gonna grab everything for you. Everything that's trending on the net is going to be here when you put it into. But Google's keeping up. I mean, if you ask Google questions, it's gonna boom do the same thing. It's competition like I have never seen before. Breaking news in the Philippines. Let's see what we got. I probably missed some. You guys probably don't sit in front of social media all day. Hey, you probably do. And that's where most of the people are getting their news. They're not sitting in front of the TV set, like we used to when we were kids. Going out for breakfast, going out for breakfast, I haven't even tried it. Well, give it a try. Download it if you've got it, and then give it a try. Tell me what you think. Okay, breaking news in the Philippines is loading. Here are the latest stories. Marcos Jr. to visit India. That is breaking news, I would say. President Marcos will undertake his first state visit to India, meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other officials from August 4th to the 8th. The trip aims to bolster defense cooperation, notably linked to the recent BrahMos missile deal and trade relations. He will also visit Bengaluru and return on August 8th. Next story. Military offensive hits NPA insurgents in Masbate. It says, Philippine troops killed 7 communist rebels in Papua New People's Army stronghold, Usan, Masbate. The military seized rifles and grenades, and officials say the once massive insurgency has dwindled to under 900 fighters nationwide. I'm just the messenger here, folks. And again, they want to talk about the Claw King. I don't know why. Oh my gosh, this isn't good news. You probably have heard about this already. I did. And it's kind of frightening in a way. It kind of bothered me. Filipino cruise ship crew deported from U.S. despite valid visas. 18 Filipino cruise ship workers were deported from the United States and prohibited re-entry despite holding valid visas. Rights groups are demanding accountability from U.S. Customs and Carnival Corporation and urging action from the Philippine Embassy. Here's what I've learned, about stories like this. We don't know what the whole story is. We don't. And they're only going to give us the side that they want to give us on this particular story. And so you have to take things with a grain of salt. But if you dug a little bit deeper into this, you're going to find more information, right? And so I don't want to speculate on what the issues were, but I guarantee you there were more than a crew of 19 Filipinos on that Carnival cruise ship, right? Think about that. 19 were deported, but I guarantee you that entire ship, 80-90% of it, had a Filipino crew on it. And so how many people does it take, to crew a cruise ship of the size that Carnival cruise, consisted of. And I'm going to tell you that 19, they don't give you the whole story here. That's where the critical thinking kicks in. They probably had hundreds of crew members, and, and 19 were deported. And why were they deported? They don't say. They're not going to tell you. They could have committed infractions or something like that in the past when they were on land, and they have a no tolerance policy right now on visas. They have a no tolerance policy, and so they probably had a list way before they disembarked from the port. So Tox is here. Hi, Tox. You did a good job on that video. Gosh, I really appreciate it. You did a hell of a shout out for Man, Minnie, and I. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, goddaughter. I really appreciate it. Man, Minnie was shocked. She was like, her mouth was like hanging open, like, wow, look at that. She put our moniker up there and everything. She put our thumbnail up there. Thank you so much. We're doing just fine. We're going to be heading north pretty soon. I'm not sure what the actual date is. So, but we'll let you know. I thought, isn't Jerry heading north? Isn't Jerry heading to the Philippines? He's going to be hanging around your neighborhood, isn't he? Larry is always on break. Yes, he is. I'll share it to my community, Godfather. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, where are we? I talked about the insurgency decline. Oh, let's talk about Cebu. Let's talk about tourism, okay? Because they released some information about, it was from the Tourism Authority, right? But they did it in such a bizarre way, it caught my attention. They started talking about we had 8 million international visitors, whatever it was, right? Whatever the time period was. And what caught my attention was they didn't say tourists, right? They didn't say tourists. So they didn't say if these were OFWs returning home. They didn't say if these were people from the USA. They didn't say that we had so many tourists coming in from South Korea, so many tourists coming in from India, so many tourists coming in from Ukraine or Russia. None of that stuff, right? None of that stuff. Oh yeah, we love Cebu. We're going to be there again soon, I'm sure. Yeah, it's worth a visit. It most certainly is. So the whole thing is that tourism, I've been hanging around town. I haven't seen any tourists hanging around here. I just see the regulars every day. We hang out where the other expats hang out, and also where the tourists go. I didn't see anybody. We were in Bo's coffee shop today, the brand new one that we did that short video, and it was interesting, but we kind of knew everybody who was in there. So I mean, there might have been 1 or 2 faces I didn't recognize. They caught my attention because they kept staring at me. They were like this, I couldn't know. He's probably from California. You could practically read their minds. But it didn't, I wasn't encouraged by the way that they were staring at me to go up there and introduce myself. Top says, oh yeah, hello beautiful Dan and Minnie, kisses, love you always. Godfather Dan, oh, same here, absolutely. We're forever. However long that is for me, anyway. Oh, and of course, the court struck down the vice president's impeachment trial. So I don't know. I didn't delve too much into that story because I want to stay a tiny bit away from Filipino politics, but you can't help but mention that she got a win in the courts. And that's about all I got for breaking news. What did you folks hear today? I did want to share with you this, that they've been working. So as you know, we're putting this house together, and I decided that I wasn't going to wait for the plans to be approved. What I wanted to do was I wanted to start building the stuff that it made sense to build, which would be like the rebar supports for the columns and things like that. So they completed all 15 of them today. And so starting tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Friday? This is perfect. Friday and Saturday, they will be putting the primer paint, the rust proofing paint on. And so that's really important because it rains a lot around here. We got a lot of moisture. And it's not a requirement that you put the primer paint on there. But we're going to go ahead and spend the money on labor and the paint, which is fairly expensive, so they could put that epoxy paint on there that keeps everything from rusting out. And that'll keep it in good shape until hopefully they approve the plans. I'm hoping that they do that within 2 weeks. And so I started thinking about this. I started thinking, man, these guys are such great workers that when you get a tiger by the tail, you don't want to let them go. When you get worker bees going gangbusters, you really should hang on to them, which means that you don't want them going to another job and going to work, right? Because they represent 2/3 of the crew that I'm going to need in order to build this house. I've mentioned before that it's only going to take a crew of 3, and that is because it's a very simple, very easy to understand build. And people are scratching their head thinking, is this thing going to blow away in a typhoon? Well, probably. But, but for what it costs to build this house, we could build 2 of them over there, right? And so we'll just go ahead with this plan. Actually, it has passed the engineering tests. And also I fed everything into Chat GPT, and it says it could withstand 200 mile per hour winds. So it probably wouldn't withstand a typhoon such as Haiyan, right? It probably wouldn't be able to survive that kind of typhoon. But for most of the stuff that comes through here, I would say 99.9%, we should be in good shape. I'm not promising you that we won't lose a roof or 2 over the course of 10 or 15 years. We probably will. But that's the way that it goes. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I worry about this house also. I worry about it picking up the roof and taking away to Kansas. You know what I mean? I just want to go home. You know the story with the red ruby slippers. I just want to go home. Oh, what is that? 200 per mile winds will survive a nuclear bomb. Oh my goodness. Let's hope we don't have to go through that. So anyway, I've been thinking about, I want to keep these guys going. So, Jill has been downtown talking to, he still has to talk to somebody at the city, but he has talked to a couple of engineers to find out what kind of trouble we can get into. But in the event that we start building before we have what's called the property inspection. So they actually will send the engineers from the city over and take a look at the lot to see, if it meets whatever requirements. I don't know, if there's a house here and everywhere else in our neighborhood, why wouldn't they let us build a house? It's just, it's about, they want to collect their engineering fees and things like that. I understand that. It keeps the whole city rolling, right? Probably some of that money that we pay in fees goes for infrastructure improvement because they are doing a lot of improvement. CBG says, yeah, Inspector Clouseau. It's not exactly like that. The guys that I've met when they've come over here and they've done surveys and things like that, they know what they're doing. I got to tell you, they know what they're doing. Yeah. So I don't think you're allowed to even put that in print. You mean you didn't? Oh, that's why you didn't spell it. Oh my gosh. They're probably going to ban this YouTube now, this YouTube uh, live stream, because I read what you said. You know, I'm going to be in big trouble. You're not allowed to say that word on YouTube. Oh my goodness gracious. So anyway, that you tricked me, CBGB, into saying that word. So anyway, we went down. I showed in the video how we went down to City Hardware, and we took a look at a 3-compartment and a 4-compartment septic tank built by whatever, DuPont, right? DuPont plastic. I recognize it. So I mean, this plastic, they're building tanks and different things out of, all kinds of automotive equipment. These things are, they're going to last longer than you or I. You know, I'm telling you right now, they'll probably last longer than any hollow block septic tank that you would ever be able to build. Menge is here, but what I don't get is the difference between a 3-compartment and a 4-compartment septic tank. That's what I don't understand. So I'm going to have to put that in Chat GPT and ask them, what is a 4-compartment for? Because when they build the hollow block septic tanks, they're building 3-compartment septic tanks. And I thought maybe you need a 4-compartment for commercial use. I'm not sure. You know what the heck? I have Chat GPT up. Let me go ahead and put the question in there. What's the difference? What's the difference between a 3-compartment? This is exciting YouTube live stream, isn't it? What's the difference between a 3-compartment septic tank and a 4? All right, that's all I'm telling it. By the way, the more information you give ChatGPT, the better it works for you. Break is over, back to work. Get back there. Get back to work, Larry. Oh, okay. It says the difference between a 3-compartment and a 4-compartment septic tank lies mainly in how wastewater is treated and separated before it reaches the drain field, or we call it what, a leach field, right? Okay, first it wants to talk about the 3-compartment septic tank and how it works. It receives the raw sewage, the solids settle, the sludge and oils float. They call that scum. That's compartment 1. Compartment 2 further settles the remaining solids. Partially clarified water continues on. Compartment 3 provides the final settling or house filtration media before effluent exits to the leach field. All right? Yes, it's scummy. It's a scummy business. You can't say that. I probably said that word at least twice today. It gives more time and space for solids to settle and break down, often used in residential or small commercial systems. So eventually that means that you would have to have the solid waste pumped out of there, right? But why haven't we had any problems after we've been here like 3 years using the septic tanks? Why haven't we had to pump stuff out of there? You know, that's what I'm curious about. So now you have chemicals that are safe for the environment called Ridex and different things that break down the solid waste. For example, I didn't know that this was going to go in the toilet, but it is in line with the theme here. And so I'll continue on because it's kind of funny. So, and that is that if you took common household peroxide, you know, that you buy at the drugstore, and then you use it on wounds and things like that. When the kitty scratches you, you'll clean it out with alcohol and then slap some peroxide in there, you know, something like that. Well, a lot of people don't know if you put that in a septic system by just squirting a little bit of that in the toilet, and it makes its way through the septic system, that will further help to break down the bacteria. That's good bacteria that will assist you with breaking down the solid waste. And so I would be surprised if there's that much solid waste in the septic tanks, right now. I mean, I bet you that 90% of it is breaking down and ending up in the leach fields, or in this case, the underground aquifer. Yes, the freshwater aquifer. This is just the way they do it here in the Philippines. This house sits on an underground aquifer, folks. The leach field is in the front of the house underneath 8 or 9 feet of rock. And so I was very concerned about this. And so what I did was I tried to create, on top of everything else, we tried to create our own filtration system, right? So a lot of people use carbon, in order to do that. Some people use charcoal. Some people use coconut shells. They try and figure out a way to take that, to make sure that it's as purified and as filtered as, why the toilet? Because most of my live streams, they get flushed after I'm done with them. So that's what I want you to do with this one. So this segment, these new live streams that I'm doing during the week, not on Friday giveaways, right, is going to be in the toilet, called In the Toilet with Dan. And the reason why is because when it's over, and after you listen to all my crap, you just flush it. Californians are always concerned about the environment. Yeah, I'm afraid that that I was very concerned about making sure that you didn't have contamination, but really it was about the smell, the odor. I didn't want to have to smell any of this stuff. And here in the Philippines, they do something really odd, right? If you don't have a neighbor that's living next door, if you have vacant land, they'll create the leaching field in the neighbor's land and deal with it once the neighbor shows up and says, "Oh, you're leaching into my private property, and I need to build a house there." And then they'll just they will just take the leaching line and they will plant a new one on the vacant land, that's closest to them, right? So I mean, you'll see a lot of leaching lines heading out into the waterways, the water outlets, and so where the water is cascading down the mountain, and you're close to the ocean, and they've created a channel for the wastewater to carry it into the sea, and that's pretty much the way things work here in the Philippines. But they're starting to build both freshwater plants, and in the bigger cities, and in bubble land, what I call bubble land, in places like BGC in Manila and IT Park and Ayala, and places like those, the bubbles. Eastwood, Mactan, Newtown, where Chef Ramsay just opened up 2 brand new restaurants. Well, most people don't swim in the ocean, CBGB, but yeah, you'll end up getting hepatitis or something like that. So the whole thing is that they're working towards changing all that. But I noticed something, right? In the hotels, for example, in Mactan, Newtown, I was there when the pumper truck came in there, and it's completely sealed, no leaching line. I went and I talked to them. I said, "How do you guys do it?" They said, "Oh, there's no leaching fields anywhere here in Mactan, Newtown. Everything has to be pumped out." And so the hotel, it was their day. They come once a week. They pump out the septic tanks, and they have to shoulder the expense for doing that. And I think that's absolutely beautiful, except for one thing. We don't know where the wastewater is going. That's the only problem. They wouldn't disclose. I said, hey, so what do you guys do with it? Do you guys have a plant? And then you treat it and return it back to the waterways, or you return it to the ocean? What do you do? Oh yeah, I really don't know. I'm just a worker bee. I'm just the truck driver. I just run this pumper truck. I just take it there, and then after that, I just grab another truck. I don't know what they do with it. So that's interesting, right? I'm not going to say I know what they do with it when I don't. I absolutely do not know. So then it says that, let's see, the 4-compartment septic tank and how that works. Same as a 3-compartment setup, but with an additional chamber for further filtration or aeration, because some include air pumps for aerobic bacteria. I like that idea. And grease and oil separation, especially in commercial kitchens. You know something? But we have a plan for a grease trap. So when we build the kitchen, we will put a grease trap underneath the sink. So it captures the grease there. It captures all the waste there. So it doesn't go any further than that. So we'll have a separate gray water system that's going to go through a grease trap system where, you know what a grease trap system is, Anime or Talks? It's just that box, right? Some people make them homemade out of concrete, and others buy them from City Hardware, and you place them in the low ground, but not lower than where the septic tank sits. And you run it through there, the food particles and the waste drop down to the grease trap, and usually you're cleaning it out 3 times a week. We clean ours out daily. And so we will go in there and clean the grease trap out daily here in this house. So we don't have to worry about smells and rats and cockroaches, anything else that like to eat the waste. So we take care of that on a daily basis. But so we don't have to worry about grease or oil separation, because we take care of that by putting a grease trap in line. And so then it says disinfection or pretreatment system like a biofilter. So I really like what I'm reading here. So I'm already convinced that I'm going to go with the 4-compartment. You know, whether I do any of this fancy stuff or not, is still going to allow me one extra compartment to increase the filtration of the wastewater before it hits the leach fields or the underground aquifer. Purpose of it is to offer enhanced treatment before discharge. It's most common in larger systems, environmentally sensitive areas, homes with gray water recycling, and strict local regulations. But I have a better idea. I will be talking to the wastewater company here in Cebu, or in Bye City. Where am I? Anime, where am I? Oh, I'm in Bye City, that's right. I have Cebu on the brain. So I think I miss Cebu, you know. But we have a Bose here now. Bose Coffee, the grand opening was yesterday, and they had a special invite thing going on. They shooed me away when I tried to go in there yesterday, but today they welcomed me with open arms, and so that helps a lot. And there are rumors that a Starbucks is on the drawing table. They have a Starbucks moving in here. So now, but I was a tiny bit disappointed in the beans, because the Bose has committed to a Philippine coffee cooperative partnership thing, and they have to work out the bugs in the system when they're forming cooperatives, and they're I'm going to talk about it in the video. I don't want to give it all up right now. But there are certain things and processes that you have to do, and they're not quite mature, you know. And so sometimes you'll go into Bose, and you're going to get a beautiful cup of coffee, probably the best that you've ever had in your entire life. And then the next day, you'll have exactly the same cup of coffee, and it will have a burnt, bitter taste. So it's in the roasting, it's in the handling of the beans, both when they're roasting them, and of course, what they have going on in the shop. Temperature is everything. Temperature is key. You can't burn the beans. That's most important. Do not burn the coffee beans. So anyway, the 3-compartment is used for most homes, and the 4-compartment for larger or more advanced systems, or check this out. If I decide that I want to empty it out weekly, then that's what we're going to do. But I have only seen one pumper truck in town. That was a point that I was going to make. And so I want to make sure that if we sign some kind of a contract or deal with that pumper truck, that they will actually come out and evacuate that on the day that they're supposed to do it. And I don't think we need them to come out, but once a month or once every 2 months. People around here, we simply just don't poop that much. See, we don't. We're not. Yeah, Dan's full of it. All they really have to do is worry about me. That's pretty funny, don't you think? Maybe not. All right. So I've got a system in place.
Victory.
Victory. It's been a great live stream. I think it has. I'm a little choppy, but as I get more and more used to doing daily live streams, it'll smooth out and I will find my niche, right? Also, the time for which that we have these things, that is the other issue, right? So now you guys have to help me out because you come in every single Friday showing your support. And then I show mine, by giving away a little bit of do-re-mi, which is very well deserved. And so, Dan, we are all pulling for you. Please pull harder. CBGB, pull harder. And so, here's the thing about it. Fridays at 6 p.m. are for my founding members. That's all of you that are here, right? What do they call it? What do they call it when you're I'm losing my train of thought. But once it gets to be this time in the evening, I start losing it. So anyway, 10 o'clock is just about the right time to end this live stream. But before I do that, I just want to say, a lot of you have a lot of stuff to do because you're young folks. You're a lot younger than I am. And that means having to get up early in the morning to get the kids off to school, to take care of your family, to cook breakfast and do all this other stuff. So this means a lot to me that you come here and you give the most valuable commodity, the most valuable thing that you have to offer up, which is your time. And that is why you're golden to me. But I've been thinking about moving the clock forward and doing these at like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning Filipino time so I could catch the people getting off of work on the West and the East Coast. And so I am thinking about that. And so I'm not saying that I'm going to do that every single day of the week, but I think the way this is going to mature, I think how it's going to develop is, I have to get on a schedule that everybody understands, but right now I'm not. And so what I'm thinking about doing is having a couple of live streams that are more pointed towards, the people that are in the United States or in the West, and then having some live streams that are for you, see, in the Philippines. The majority of my followers, the majority of my subscribers are right here in the Philippines because I started out with attracting, I made a concerted effort to attract you to the channel. because you're the future consumers, which means that if they start running ad campaigns, they're going to be directing them towards you. You're the demographic. And so this is why I get a lot of offers, for people to run ads on the channel. It's because the demographic is perfect. The demographic is exactly where the advertisers want it to be. And so they're looking at the Philippines and you're targeted. They're going to be trying to sell you everything. Everything. Bidets for your toilets. New double wide refrigerators. They want you to buy big screen TV sets. But I'm leaving, if I want to grow like Talks is something like 30,000 plus subscribers, then if I want to be at that level, I have to attract another audience, a larger audience even, right? And that's probably going to come from the West. And so that means that I would have to do a live stream later in the evening Philippine time, right? So, but the whole thing is, yeah, Talks, I love you. I know, I pay attention to what's going on. I don't always tell you that I'm lurking in the background, but I'm there once or twice. I slipped in there today and I see, I'm just amazed at how many people you can get in your live stream. It's just friggin' amazing to me, and so I want to be like that but I'm a man, I'm a 68-year-old man, I'm married one. So, I sometimes have young ladies come into my chat, and they'll say, right away they'll be, oh, are you single? No. Married. Oh, see you. They're just in and out. See you. I never see them again, right? They subscribe and then a couple of minutes later, poosh, they're gone. Just like that. So, but you're able to retain your audience. See? And so I think that on the way to the next milestone is going to be 10,000 subscribers. And in order to get there, I really see the appeal. I mean, Talks, you've got game, that's the whole thing. You can keep the audience focused on you. Even the whole short Jollibee thing is fabulous. It's a home run. Or Greenwich Pizza. Whatever you do, people want to see you eating. They can't believe, and dancing, by the way, mostly dancing, but they love seeing you eat too. But anyway, I have to come up with a shtick, in the toilet with Dan. If it's brown, flush it. I have to come up with something that's going to appeal to a Western audience. I don't know if this is going to work. It's as good an idea as any. Otherwise, I'm going to end up out there with all these other morons doing faceless videos where they do voice to video or text to talk, they call it, where they just have ChatGPT write a script and then you just see pictures scrolling by. Did you know that the Philippines has a population of 115,000? I just don't think that YouTube is going to allow that to go on for very much longer, because they've already sent out their memos saying, hey, gang, we're going to scrutinize your videos for creativity. We're going to take a closer look. And trust me, if you haven't noticed, they have on mine. Trust me, when I tell you that they always take a little bit longer now these days before they'll greenlight a video, including my short videos. For example, the one that we posted today on Bo's Coffee and the one that we posted yesterday took about 20 minutes or 25 minutes for them to release. Dan, I have Cebu City in my mind as well. Sorry, just got back to my desk. Yeah, Larry, I'm telling you, I love the place. I do. I think you'll love it too. But that being said, if you guys have any suggestions for what I can do, then contact me. Private message me. I'll see your message. We'll talk about it. I need to come up with something I don't want to do the same boring thing that everybody else is doing. Condo reviews. Like the guys are legendary for doing condo reviews. I'm not going to unseat anybody who's doing condo reviews. I mean, Amazing Philippines comes to mind, for Cebu. I mean, he's been doing it for what, 8, 10, 12 years. And then you've got Chubbs up there in the north, up there in Pampanga, and he's doing a fabulous job on apartment and condo reviews. I cannot compete. I have to come up with something original. CBGB, if you have something on your, you have something that'll work, then send it this way. But people love house builds and things like that. So I think that in the coming months, as we get started building this house, the view count will start to go up, and I'll get more subscribers simply because they want to learn how to do this. And so we got a little twist to this thing, right? That I think is going to interest a lot of people. In other words, they don't build a house the way that we're planning on building it. They don't usually use hardy flex and metal, all metal, in the house. And so this is going to be a great thing to show. There are a couple YouTubers out there that are doing it, but I've only seen a couple doing it, and I mean, what interests people are things like Texas Filipino, who actually built concrete walls. They actually cast concrete walls, which was fabulous. And so I thought that that's what I was going to do. But then I said, no, there's a thing that you could do that'll make it just as strong as a concrete wall without using the concrete, without spending all the money. It'll be I think it's going to be a challenging but very, very fun experience. So that'll tide me over for a few months. So in that, CBGB and Larry and Anime and Crystals, I'll be depending upon you to offer something up. For example, Crystals, for you and your husband, whenever you get something to rebuild, people would love to see you do it, how it happens in the Philippines. And I've missed my opportunity, When they repaired our Suzuki, when they pulled the engine and the tranny down, I just blew an opportunity. I could have shown step by step how those guys were going to do it, right? How they were going to pull the engine and tranny out of that Suzuki. And it would have been an amazing video, because it was all done in one day. One day with hand tools, the same way they build a house. Well, they don't build a house in one day, but they do spectacular work here in the Philippines with simple hand tools. And we're over there in the States using power tools, and we're screwing the whole thing up. Yeah, Adobe, for example. We've got plenty of places around here that have clay, but they don't know how to use it. They really don't know how to use Adobe around here, CBGB. But that would be another thing that people would be interested in, but hollow block is sort of like, the future of hollow block is not good. It's not great. I can tell you that. Because they're coming out with all kinds of products that are superior to hollow block, where you're not going to burn up in your concrete encased house. I mean, we've got AC units all over the place in here. They're expensive. It's expensive to run. I've got 5 or 6 units. And I'll run 1 or 2. I'll alternate between 2 of them. And I shouldn't be doing this, I mean, it's just better off. I'm better off going in. I have a TV in our room. I'm better off going into our bedroom and firing up the AC and just getting some kind of a comfortable chair. I don't like laying down in the bed, because I'll fall asleep. But I mean, that's what the bed's for, right? But if I could find a way to squeeze an easy chair or even a fold-out IKEA chair or something, I would go in there and save probably on the energy, because I'm the only one that uses it around here. I'm the only one that uses the hot water heater and the water pump and all these other things. Dan, but oh yeah, I saw it. I love the video. You know what? That's what I'm talking about, Larry. That's what I'm talking about. He should have done more detail on that. A video where it showed the entire building of it from scratch. I absolutely would have loved to see that. But I enjoyed what I saw. I enjoyed what he showed us. It was fun. And he's a fun guy, and so is his wife. And so I think that Bud Brown, he hits a home run almost every time these days. He just knows what the people are looking for. And I have yet to figure it out. I've improved a lot on things like editing and things like that, but I still have a long way to go. And so I need to attract more people. I want to get the subscribership up above 10,000. And you guys have been doing a fabulous job. That being said, by you guys sharing everything out, it has increased my revenue stream tremendously. I mean, I'm working on pennies here, but the thing is, I've got 1,700 videos in the can. And so there's some of them that are getting played all the time, and you probably know which ones they are. And they're paying pennies, but hey, if you get 100 videos and they're earning 5 cents per video per day, you're doing pretty good, in terms of the revenue. The whole goal is to earn the money to give it back to you in the form of giveaway. That has always been the goal. So Dan, that's why I said that I think that you should show a longer video. Well, the thing is that when I look at my bail rate, I'm only getting people for 2.5 minutes, maybe at the most. And really, it's a lot of you guys that are watching it. And so a lot of you are doing it. Wait, let's see, Rusi ruin. Rusi, ruin it until sending it back. That's why they call it Rusi, huh? So anyway, I'm only getting like 2.5 minutes. And so that's why I focus more on the short videos, because I can get you to watch 17 seconds. So now if I can get people to watch a 3-minute video or 3 minute and 10 seconds, I'd be so happy. And so we have hit a couple of home runs. And so I will focus on those that return that, and I'll start providing more videos that are just like the ones that perform well. And YouTube even sent me how they send you suggestions, about what would work, and they break it down, give you the analysis, and they say you kill on the soft serve ice cream videos. You knock it out of the park. Why aren't you spending all your time making soft serve ice cream videos? And that's because we only have 2 soft serve ice cream machines in the entire Bye City proper. And so I've shown you in nauseam both of the machines multiple times, right? And so I gotta, even in Cebu, it was very, very difficult to find them because I would look them up online and then we'd go there, out of business. And so I was joking with Minnie saying, we ought to buy one and we'll sit there all day just making soft serve ice cream cones for the kids. And then put that on YouTube, right? As a short video and have it get 30,000 views. I mean, I don't mind doing that. I mean, I play to the crowd. I'm going to play to my audience if that's what they want. So this is a little bit of an experiment, also keeping that in mind. I'm just trying to figure out what works, right? So anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks. I guess that's what I'm saying is Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, I really appreciate it. Let's keep it going. It's going to end up back in your pocket. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Friday, 6 p.m. Philippine date and time. And let me give you a tape. Let me show you what happened. I got to show you this. The piggy is overwhelmed, right? Look at this. We had to transfer everything over to a new piggy because Stuff the Pig was getting, well, you could see. Look at this. Look at this pig, right? The pig is overflowing with cash. And so we had to move up to another pig size, right? We had to upgrade to another pig. So yes, so this is going to be fun because we're filling that up thanks to Mike Married, who suggested that we start early. We're filling this bad boy up, and I'm enjoying every minute of it because one of you is going to end up with one heck of a nice Christmas. All right, well, we'll see everybody tomorrow at 6 p.m. Philippine day and time. We're going to do the giveaway 333. 3 of you have a chance to win. Bye, everybody. Thanks again. Good night.